Wrapping up the 2021 French Open, where Barbora Krejcikova won her first major title and Novak Djokivic won his 19th Grand Slam, that out of the way, here we go. Anastasia Pavlyuchenkova couldn't write the happiest of stories. A junior tennis dynamo, she had a good shot to win her first major as a pro. She survived the quarterfinal round for the first time in her major career, she won her semi-final match, and was on the threshold of the title. The opponent won the match, she didn't lose it. She turns 30 the first week of Wimbledon, but let's see if she builds on this success. Djokovic's defeat of Nadal in the semi-finals marks one of the great tennis takedowns. It also, potentially anyway, marks a great plot point in the GOAT saga. But pause to note that just as we're unlikely ever to see three players combined for nearly 60 majors, the idea of one player winning the same major 13 times is simply silly. We often wonder how players process events, to use a term that has become ubiquitous. In particular, does Maria Sakkari recall 2021 Roland Garros as a wonderful and fearless 5 rounds that included a defeat of the defending champ and heavy favorite, Iga Swiatek? Or does she remember it for being a point from a major final, where a lower-ranked opponent would await, and failing to close? Likewise, Coco Gauff, age 17, still eligible for the juniors, looked like a mature and veteran player for 4 matches plus an hour here, all those matches won in less glamorous settings paying off. Then she failed to close out set points in the quarters against Krejcikova and faded, a missed opportunity but hardly tragic. The growth continues apace. Still another selling point for women's tennis, the concentration of top singles who play doubles, and vice versa. Ash Barty, the top seed, was in both draws. So was Swiatek. And of course, there's Krejcikova who, with her longtime partner, Katerina Siniakova, might be the world's best team. They reached the final and beat Swiatek and Bethany Mattek-Sands. Krejcikova becomes the first player to sweep singles and doubles at a major since Serena in 2016, and the first at Roland Garros since Mary Pierce in 2000. Because it's about time the Czech Republic produced a female player, that's a joke. In the girls' draw, Linda Noskova prevailed in a battle of 16-year-olds, beating Erika Andreeva of Russia. France got a lot of heat for the failures of its men, none of whom advanced beyond round 2. But reinforcement appears to be on the way. All 4 boys semi-finalists were French. In the end, Luca van Asscher beat Arthur Fils. For a guy who lambasted, clay-basted courts, Daniil Medvedev could have fooled everyone. The Russian didn't win the tournament to seize the top ranking, a statistical possibility before the event, but he acquitted himself well. And continues to reveal himself to be a thoroughly likable figure. Okay, I lied. One more thought, in part because I was surprised this didn't get more play. Forget the court of public opinion, I wonder whether this doesn't hurt Osaka on an actual tennis court. Specifically, if I am an opponent and I now know that Osaka is this fissured by doubt, is that not a source of inspiration when it's 4-4 in the 3rd set? Osaka's fighting spirit ranks among her great gifts. Does this episode come at a price to her on-court aura? There is a recent major champion who broke through at the US Open, but is clearly adjusting to life at the top and the pressures, internal and external, that accompany success. This star has been admirably candid in admitting that it is all taking a mental toll. After this player made an early, unexpected, uncharacteristic departure in Paris, you hope that they undertake some mental hygiene, stay off social media and remember what made them a champion. To which we say, Godspeed, Dominic Thiem. What a joy and relief it was watching Sonia Kenin, split from her overbearing father, proving that she can win flying solo. Those who fly alone have the strongest wings, and all. She didn't offer much resistance in the 4th round against Maria Sakkari. But, as she looks for a new coach, she can build on this event. Like a Friday news dump, timing is everything. While l'affaire Osaka raged, some players got off easy. First-round losers included Andrei Rublev, Felix Auger-Aliassime and, a clearly physically compromised, Garbine Muguruza. A few days later, with the draw a chasm, the highest remaining seed, Aryna Sabalenka, still without an appearance in a major quarterfinal, whimpered out 0-6 in the final set, committing 17 errors. The reality of tennis today, you make your bones at the majors. From the 19-year-old Italian Phenom division, we knew how good Jannik Sinner was, and is. But what a revelation Lorenzo Musetti was, playing his first ever major. With an abundance of style but also plenty of substance, he reached round 4 and took 2 sets off Djokovic, 7-6, 7-6. He hit Hadrian's Wall, winning only 2 more games the rest of the match. But what talent, what versatility and what an expressive personality. A candidate for favorite moment, in round 2, Mackie McDonald and Christian Garin were locked in a piano wire-tight 5-set battle. As McDonald went to serve 4-5 in the 5th, the chair announced that curfew was approaching and everyone had to leave the venue. Garin's fans, though, stuck around and cheered for him from outside the grounds, noses pressed to the fence. When Garin left the court victorious 8-6 in the 5th, he hurled towels over the fence, acknowledging the support. Speaking of towels, this has reached the point of comedy. Players are, of course, paid prize money. But the real tennis currency, at least at the majors, is terrycloth. I saw a doubles player win a match on court 6. And then orbit the court, not as a victory lap but as an opportunity to swoop up every Roland Garros towel and stash them in her racket bag. Back to fun moments. In the 4th round, Diego Schwartzman was down 1-5 in the first set to Jan-Lennard Struff. He steadied and won the set in an 11-9 tiebreaker. As he walked to the chair, he tried to lock eyes with his box. When his gaze wasn't returned, he looked up to the chair, hoping to bond over the shared experience. "That was crazy, no," he said. As only she can, Sloane Stephens overachieved and underperformed in the same event. Defending quarterfinal points, she won her first 3 matches, beating 2 seeds Carolina's Pliskova and Muchova. She played the same smooth, poised, offensively defensive tennis she rode to the final here in 2017. Then, she simply failed to show up against Barbora Krejcikova, winning 2 games. Verducci, Brandon Crawford is in the midst of a career season. Daily cover, the weight of a golden generation. The Steam Team, FaZe Clan is taking over AFC East coaching breakdown and fantasy football impact. AFC West coaching breakdown, Joe Lombardi has big plans for Austin Eckler. AFC North coaching breakdown, will wide receivers continue to struggle in Greg Roman's offense? AFC South coaching breakdown, Frank Reich will resurrect Carson Wentz's career. Is Donovan Mitchell officially an NBA superstar? Should Nikola Jokic have been the unanimous MVP? Is expanding the college football playoff a no-brainer? MLB is full of major league cheaters. Daily cover, the burden of being the big. Lewandowski French Open Day 10 recap, Tamara Zidansek and Anastasia Pavlyuchenkova both advanced to the semi-finals, putting Simone Biles' dominance into perspective. The Aaron Rodgers Green Bay Packers divorce is long overdue. Is Kevin Durant the best basketball player in the world? For the 6th year in a row, we have a first-time champ in Paris. Some years, parity is expected. This wasn't one of them. You had Osaka coming in on a 14-0 majors win streak. Barty and Swiatek were rounding into form. Same for Sabalenka. Gauff was coming off a title. The idea that we would have 4 first-time semi-finalists, 2 of them unseeded? Crazy this year. Think there's much symmetry between Federer and Serena? They are both 39. They both came here having won only one of their last 3 matches. They both came in having won the exact same number of matches at majors, 362. After leaving Paris, within hours of each other, he by withdrawal, she by defeat, they head to Wimbledon. He's won 8 times, she's won 7 times. They have the identical winning percentage there, 89%. As much a tradition here as dry cleaning. Clay streak to Tyre and Rafa winning. Complaints about the weekend coverage. As a fan, this would drive me crazy. As someone who wants to see a wonderful sport succeed, it is maddeningly antithetical. But here's the deal, Tennis Channel is the host. There is a carve-out whereby NBC is entitled to broadcast some weekend spots. NBC chooses where and when to broadcast. In the past, it has put matches on tape delay. It has bumped matches to its now defunct sports network. This year, it moved matches to its premium streaming platform. First rule of renegotiating, make sure you're dealing with the right person. Direct your outrage at Comcast. Lot of head scratching when Jenny Brady split with her coach prior to the tournament. It was under Michael Gessera that Brady upgraded her seat assignment. But Brady reminded us that, in player-coach relations, correlation and causation aren't necessarily the same, and sometimes we're too quick to forget that players are ultimately the ones out there doing the work. After winning a pair of matches, Brady withdrew against Gauff with a foot injury. Other WTA coaching news: Sofia Kenin is interviewing coaching candidates. A suggestion here for a strong, non-narcissist former player. Bianca Andreescu is, of this writing, looking for a replacement for Sylvain Bruno. Belinda Bencic is now working with the underrated John Evett. Sorana Cirstea is doing some work with Marion Bartoli. As I write this, I'm told by multiple sources that the WTA China stretch looks unlikely to happen this fall, which is Indian Wells gain. The WTA now needs to find a home for the year-end soiree, mostly likely in Singapore or Europe. Not holding it again is not an option. To use one of the great overworked phrases of the past 15 months, the rest of the calendar remains a fluid situation. Wimbledon is hoping for 50% capacity but resigned to 25%. The US Open is hoping for 100%. The other question is Australia. If quarantine is still in effect, how many top players are willing to go through 14 days in a hotel? In her first match, Andreescu threw up a toss that got caught in a maelstrom and completely whiffed her serve. Fault. Catch your toss and it's a do-over, rake a swing and it counts. She then clobbered a second serve ace. She lost the match to Tamara Zidansek 9-7 in the third, a defeat that looked increasingly less bad as the tournament progressed. And while the focus has been on Osaka, man, has Andreescu, the player Osaka sandwiched as US Open champ, been through a lot over the last 18 months. Here's our nominee for best credential ever. On a serious note, props to the organizers for amending their dog policy. It's such a transient sport, it seems like a small accommodation to allow members of the tour to bring their pets on site. In his third rounder against Casper Ruud, Alejandro Davidovich Fokina was broken 8 times and broke the opponent only 4 times. He won 15 fewer points and 6 fewer games. He had more errors than winners, while Ruud had more winners than errors. And yet ADF won the match, 7-5 in the fifth, a deceptively big upset. The beauty of tennis, it's all about when. One former women's champ, Simona Halep, doesn't post with a calf injury. Another, Ash Barty, retires early in the tournament with a hip injury, not the arm injury that forced her withdrawal from the previous event. A former men's champ, Stan Wawrinka, doesn't post. The reigning gold medal winners, Juan Martin Del Potro and Monica Puig, are injured and unlikely to defend their medals. A top American, Taylor Fritz, left a court in a wheelchair and now needs surgery. A top Canadian, Andreescu, can't stay healthy. Another, Jeannie Bouchard, is likely done for the year. Sports are physical. Injuries are as much a part of sports as indigestion is a part of the Taco Bell dining experience. Fine. But we have normalized an epidemic. I want a t-shirt from the David Goffin Prospects Tour. Since October, he has lost to Jannik Sinner, Carlos Alcaraz, Alexei Popyrin. Here, he fell in straight sets to Lorenzo Musetti. Speaking of Italians in the press room, we can confirm, it was not Bob Woodward, repeat, not Bob Woodward, who triggered this cringe fest. As we reassess player-media relations and seek to improve on the press conference format, here's an idea: why not have the questioners identify themselves and their outlets? It will add a layer of accountability, rewarding the many professionals, and unmasking the goofballs and their outlets, but I feel like this can't go entirely unchallenged. The idea that people forfeit the right to have valid opinions unless they can immediately relate or equal the aptitude and experience of the figure in question? That takes us to an ugly place. You're not allowed to dislike a meal unless you are a professional chef? You can't assess the police, who make more quick decisions in a day than most of us make in a year, unless you've served on the force? Only lawyers get to second-guess legal strategy? For that matter, imagine an interior designer saying to Venus, "You cannot hold a candle to my body of work, your observations and analysis are not worthy." Last Canadian standing, Leylah Fernandez has a game that goes pew 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 while her opponents often go boom. But, man, can she compete. And she isn't afraid of lacerating self-criticism. Her assessment of her second-round defeat to Madison Keys: "It was a tough match. But honestly I played a pretty horrible one, let's say. At a scale of 1 to 10, I would say 0. I'm definitely not happy with the way I played. The way I acted on court, too. Everything considered, I deserved to lose this one." Speaking of admirably undersized fighters, I'm hearing that Caroline Wozniacki will figure prominently in the NBC Olympic tennis broadcast. And it will be coming from Telemundo in Miami, where Wozniacki spends significant time. Speaking of the Olympics, the final rosters will, in theory, be set based on the rankings after this event. But it remains to be seen which players will and won't go. A number of players have vowed to participate, a few, Federer and Osaka, are darn near obligated commercially, others have made it clear they are not interested, a good many are clearly taking a wait and see and hope the situation won't get worse approach. Sign of the times, the first round losers prize money in mixed doubles was $0. This marked the 15th year Roland Garros started the event on a Sunday. And it's a considerable upset that no other major has adopted this. If these events are the sports showcases, and they are, why wouldn't you want to wrap them around as many weekends as possible, as the Olympics do? Sure, these sessions would come at the expense of tour events, but that seems like an eminently solvable riddle. We have ample opportunities to point out the rigors of tennis. But the qualifying draw is a path littered with disappointment. Vera Zvonareva, twice a major finalist and once a mother, was the top seed and lost. So did Ilya Ivashka, the top men's seed, who beat Zverev on clay in April. As did Thanasi Kokkinakis, Coco Vandeweghe, Bernard Tomic, and Svetlana Pironkova. Each year, college tennis tends to be overshadowed by the French Open. This year, for the record, Florida won the men's team title and Texas won the women's. The singles, UVA's Emma Navarro, Charleston, SC, won the women's singles, while Florida junior Sam Rifus, Orlando via NorCal, won the men's. It is the first time since 2017 that both the men's and women's singles champions have been American. North Carolina's McKenna Jones, Greenville, SC, and Elizabeth Scotty, Annapolis, MD, also won the women's doubles title, defeating Kylie Collins, Savannah, Gar, and Lulu Sun of Texas, 7-6, 3, 4-6, 10-8. Thanks for all your Tennis Channel mail, good, bad and indifferent. We have a strong team and we'll be back for Wimbledon coverage in 2 weeks.